So today we will be, let's say, going in detail about each and every documentation that we have discussed last session on Friday, guys. So on Friday, I hope everyone remember that we spoke about some of the deliverables which as a QA you are involved into, such as test plan. We have test strategy. We have, you can consider test cases, test scenarios, requirement traceability matrix, defect summary report, defect report. So all these are kind of deliverables, guys. Okay. And as a QA, we are involved into, let's say, you need to kind of provide all these documentations and stuff, guys. So today we will discuss about test plan in detail. What are the test plan? What are the sample test plan? I'll share you some of the sample test plan as well. So test plan at a higher level, guys, it's a document that describes the scope, strategy, objective, and the deliverables and the resource required to perform the testing of the software. Okay. So in this document, you can consider, let's say, you will have complete, you can say, overview about the complete end-to-end project. What is the scope? Scope means like what all things will be considered when it comes to testing, guys. Okay. What is the QA environment? Okay, so you will see some testing environment. Okay. So testing environment as in like the environment on which you are going to validate, guys. So here I would like to add something, guys. Okay, so let me create one high level this thing text box. So I wanted to add in detail about the environment part, guys. Okay. So usually what happens as a QA, guys, we are kind of responsible for managing and handling minimum two environments, guys. Okay. So those environments are like, you can consider as, you usually give the name as per the project, guys. But most of the time in most of the organizations, the names are given as like this QA and stage. Okay. And prior to this, we are having one more environment which is called as dev environment. Am I clear, everyone? So we have dev, we have QA, we have stage. Can anybody put some light on this? What all these are environment, guys? Anyone wants to add anything?
Basically, dev environment is used by the developers and QA is used by the testers. Stage is a UAT label environment, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
Okay. So usually what is the best practice? How much code is available on stage? How much code is available on QA? And which is the most, like which environment you need to keep the stable environment?
Yeah, stage is the most stable, I guess, because the codes are pushed from dev, then QA, then to stage is the final one, I guess.
यहाँ की फोटो आज दिएपछि क्यारे मेरो पनि फोटो खिचिदिनु भएको थियो उहाँबाट नानीको खिचेर कस्तो राम्रो देखेको है एडिट गरेर किन आवाज नआएको
Okay, perfect. So basically what happens in real QA, like this thing, we will have the stage environment as the most stable one, guys. Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Sabita.
Oh, sorry, I was just trying to reconnect.
Yeah, no problem. So what I was saying, guys, let me clear everything. Okay. So just to give you a high level insight, guys, we are having three environment as correctly mentioned: dev, QA, and stage. Okay. So if you consider the deployment on stage, it is like hardly like once in 2 weeks or something. Okay, once in 2 weeks, or it can be once in a month also, guys. Okay, and in QA, guys, you can consider like once in a week. Okay, or even like twice in a week. Okay, sometime. The reason is they need to kind of migrate the changes from dev to QA, guys. Okay, here the deployment happens daily, guys. Okay, it is daily, guys. Understood? So you can consider like dev environment as the most unstable environment, guys. Okay, because the thing is on dev environment on daily basis, some or the other deployments keeps on happening. Obviously, the developer will create their developer story, Jira story, and they try to you can say develop that via UI, via API, and they will deploy on dev to do the unit testing. Okay, and then once they are satisfied, they will try to merge their code to the QA environment. Okay, so dev environment is the most stable one, but as a developer, they will do the unit testing and everything on the dev environment, and they might ask you as well. Okay, they might ask you as well, hey, please do the unit testing, please. Okay, so at that time, we as a QA needs to do the unit testing as well on the dev environment. Okay, clear everyone? Understood? Anybody has any doubt, any questions about the environment?
Could you please repeat about the stage and the QA environment?
Sure. So let me kind of repeat it again. So first of all, we as a QA are mostly responsible for QA as well as stage environment. Okay. So let me consider one real-time application. Okay. So we have a website called as snapdeal.com. Okay. See, this is a common like production website, guys. So as a company, as an organization, those who are, let's say, working over here, they might have the URL as stage.snapdeal.com, something like that. So this is an e-commerce site, guys. So stage.snapdeal.com and qa.snapdeal.com. Okay. So here the stage environment, what happens, whatever developer is like very satisfied with the development story, right? What they will do, they will migrate their changes to what? They will migrate their changes to QA environment. After that, what happens? They will the Jira story or Jira, you can say development task, they will assign to QA, guys. Okay. Now it's a QA responsibility to validate all the scenarios which is for which they have made the changes. And as a QA, this environment will be also not very this thing stable, guys, because here also we are saying that we need to validate all the scenarios, guys. Once you are fully satisfied with all the test cases and everything, then only you will give the heads up, go ahead, saying that we have validated all the scenarios, all the test cases, automation is working fine. You can migrate the changes from QA environment to stage environment. That's what we usually give the heads up over the Jira ticket, saying that we have validated all the scenarios. Kindly migrate the changes from QA environment to stage environment. Clear? If there are any bugs or any issues we have kind of raised in the QA environment, guys, the developer will start again working on the development environment. He will not directly fix on QA. Please remember this. Okay. So developer will work on developer environment. Say he will reproduce the bugs again on the dev environment, and it should be reproducible because the code which is present on dev and the code which is present on QA is same, guys. Perfect. So he will reproduce the bugs on dev environment and then he will resolve that issue. And after that, he'll do the deployment again on the QA environment. So unless and until all the bugs related to that particular Jira story is kind of under done status, this cycle will keep on kind of, you can say, consider, guys. This cycle will be considered. Okay. So the bug count for particular module should be 0. Please remember this. Because the reason of this is we should have the stage environment to be the stable environment, so that whatever changes which are present on stage, it is more or less similar to what is going to go in production website. Okay, that's the reason we consider as a stage as a final check. Okay, some of the organization may have pre-prod guys, pre-prod environment. We usually call that as a UAT environment. Okay, that depends upon the organization, guys. Clear, everyone?
You mean stage environment is prod environment, right? Production, right?
No, stage environment is not production. From stage, there will be one more environment, which is pre-prod sometime. If not, then it will be directly production.
Yeah, thank you.
Here, we will have one more environment, which is called production. If organization will do a UAT client side, so they may have something called as uat.snapdeal.com. Sometimes people may say that this client may say that we need to validate the changes over our UAT. So DevOps engineer will migrate the code from here stage to UAT. So UAT you can consider as a client side validation. And if they feel that no, there is some issue with look and feel, there is some issue with functionality, so they may come up with the issues, and that issues needs to be kind of resolved from dev to QA to stage, then again UAT deployment. Can anybody tell me who is involved in deployment process, guys?
Product owner, QA testers.
QA
Product owner, testers.
QA.
See guys, deployment, you might have heard about a role called DevOps, right? DevOps engineer are the one who has created the environment. Okay. So what they do is, guys, they usually make sure that all the environments are stable. They are working fine. They are going, they are showing 200. The health is good. Okay. Everything is good. So that is a role of DevOps engineer. DevOps engineer will also guide the developer, okay, front end as well as back end, for the initial deployment process. Initial, when I say initial, guys, for 2 to 3 deployment, they might require some help, guys, okay, who? Front end and back end developer. So what they do take help of DevOps engineers. So this is a process which we are following for the deployment of code from one environment to another. So please remember, guys, QA team is not responsible for the deployment process. Who is responsible? Front end, back end, and the DevOps engineer. So front end engineer, back end developer, as well as DevOps engineer. Please remember. And after 5 to 6 deployment, guys, the DevOps engineer will also will not be involved, guys, anymore. Okay. Now there is only one, there is a dedicated team called as developer itself, who will migrate their changes from one environment to another environment. Over here, the front end and back end developer need to make sure that the code which we are migrating, that is correct. The branch which we are migrating. So usually we people call that as a branch, guys, because what they do, they create a branch, they do the changes, and then they migrate the branch from one environment to another. The only thing which is obviously I said, right, is the URL will be kind of updated, guys. For QA, there will be some other URL. For dev, it will be other, and stage, it will be other. For UAT, it will be other. Is it clear? Who is the main, you can say, POC for deployment process? Anybody has any doubt, query? And deployment process means, guys, your code is migrating. Okay. It can be over Git. It can be over Azure. It can be over Circle CI. It can be over you can consider various source code management tools, guys. GitLab, GitHub, Git. Okay, so these are the common SCM, source code management, you can say, wherein the code is getting migrated smoothly, guys. Okay. Anybody wants to add anything, guys? Perfect. Okay, now coming to test plan, guys. Here you can see that we are having strategy, defect reporting procedure, schedule, deliverables, pricing, entry exit criteria, suspension and resumption criteria. Can anybody tell me what is suspension and resumption criteria, guys? What can be this into our TP test plan? Okay, so on Friday I mentioned that test plan is created by whom, guys? Anyone? So you might have seen that test plan is created senior QA engineer plus test team lead, guys. Okay. So whoever is involved in test plan creation, guys, because this is the first document which is being referred by the complete team. And based on this documentation, guys, they are creating the next document, next sets of documents. So those sets of document is completely dependent on how accurately test plan is. Please remember. Okay. So that's the reason test plan document is very, very important, guys. Based on this document only, people will kind of QA team will create the test strategy document. You can say test execution, then test cases. Everything will be kind of depending on your test plan, guys. Okay. So anybody has any questions on any of the pointers, guys? Suspension and resumption criteria means when to stop testing, when to resume testing. Okay. So sometime what happens, you have done the sufficient testing and you are doing extensive additional testing, guys. So in documentation, it will be clearly mentioned when to stop testing and at what point, if you are kind of stuck somewhere, if you want to resume your this thing, at what time at what scenario you want to resume the testing, guys. Okay. So all this will be present in your test plan document, and test plan document is usually of like around 45 to 50 pages sometime. It depends upon the project complexity, guys. Okay, clear everyone? Anybody has any doubt, query, questions? Anyone? Okay, moving on, guys. We have a simple use case librarian. This is a use case diagram, guys. Previously, we used to kind of have the good understanding on this, but right now we have migrated towards Figma, InVision Studio, those type of tool wherein we have the complete flow chart, guys. But previously we used to follow the use case diagram. Based on the use case diagram, we used to generate our test case. So test case is nothing but describe the steps and the procedures which is prepared by the engineer. Use case was the functional requirement which was prepared by the business analyst. Nowadays, we call that as a product owner or scrum master, guys. And test case, you can consider the steps, procedure which is being followed by the engineer. What's the difference between test scenario and test cases, guys? Scenario is what to be tested and test case is how to be tested. Okay. So that's a major difference between scenario and test case, guys.
Hello, can you please go back to the previous slide?
Please go ahead.
Yeah. Can you just explain this once more, please?
Use cases is something which we create based on the actors and the action they are doing. When I say actor, guys, so in the previous diagram, you might have seen that library user and the librarian, these two are the actor. Okay. So these two actors can perform what action? So library user can register book loan, yes. Library user can query book availability, yes. Library user can register book return, yes. But library user cannot add new book. Why? Because librarian is the one who is responsible for adding a new book. Okay, so the use case diagram is a diagram from where you will have a high level understanding that what all test cases this particular scenario can have. So based on this diagram itself, you can have around 15 to 20 test cases between library user and librarian, guys. So in like around this is being not this is still being followed, guys, in some of the organization, but most of the organization has migrated towards flowchart, towards Figma, towards InVision Studio. So these are the applications which are available over the internet, guys, and they are doing or they are creating the mock flows over there. So based on this, you can consider use case is like who will create it, guys? You can consider product owner. But test case, who will prepare it? Actually, QA engineer, guys. So in test case, you will see a complete template, guys. I'll explain you that. Wherein there will be a complete Excel template, guys. Initially, we prepare our test case in Excel itself. Is it clear? I'll show you the sample. Okay. Now, next is test scenario versus test cases, which I mentioned that test scenario is what to be tested. Test cases is how to test. If I ask you that, hey, validate the login functionality of flipkart.com, so you will say that how to do that, right? Because Flipkart has got a login system as like you can consider with the OTP system, guys. Okay, if you consider Flipkart, there is something called as OTP system. There is something called as email address also. But if you write the email address also, okay, so this is a valid email address. If you click on request OTP, here it will say that the OTP has been migrated or sorry, OTP has been sent to asd@gmail.com, guys. So what it is saying that you don't have the logic of password, guys. Correct? So how is the login, guys, in Flipkart? It's basically based on OTP, whether you enter email address, whether you enter phone number. So for everything, they have migrated towards OTP scenarios, guys. Okay, clear? When you go to Amazon.com, if you go to login, sign in, you will see that email and then they will ask you the password, guys. Okay, so every like application has got its own way of handling the login functionality, guys. So what is scenario? Scenario is I want to validate the complete flow of Amazon sign-in. I want to validate the complete flow of login functionality of Flipkart. Can anybody tell me how many test cases you can have based on this login page, guys? Anybody? Rough estimation, guys. How many test cases you can create by looking at this particular screen? I told you what is test case.
There can be multiple test cases, including negative scenarios, right?
So what I will suggest, don't include this all options which is showing at the top. Okay, ignore that. Right? You can ignore the header section, guys. I want the test case only on this particular iframe section, like which is being open over here, this one, this rectangle, guys. So anybody can tell me the rough count, guys? Around 100, around 10, around 50, like that. Including negative as well, obviously.
Yeah, around 10, I guess.
Around 10. Okay. So guys, around 10. if like it is between 10 and 20, that is fine. The reason is over here, we are having few of the links as well, guys. On this page, on this particular rectangle, guys, we are having some of the links. So we have term of use, we have privacy policy, we have new to Flipkart, create an account. So we are not going on this page, guys. Okay, we will stuck only on this page, because if I go to this page, again around 20 to 30 test case will get created, because this page is little bit different, wherein you need to enter mobile number and you will have this 2 button. Okay, I told about login. So login, you can enter invalid, click on request OTP. Here you need to validate this error message. Enter valid mobile number. Okay, so as soon as you enter, you need to check whether +91 is coming or not. If it is not coming, then raise the issue. Okay, try to check with invalid number. Here it should, the error message you need to validate. Please enter valid email ID / mobile number. Okay, so if you enter, let's say total 10 digit, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And if you click on request OTP, again it is saying please enter mobile number correct. So now let me enter the mobile number, which is like starting with 9. So it will say that login with OTP unavailable. Please contact customer care. So it might happen, they might block us, guys, due to some reason. But yes, again, this is something we need to validate. If I'm entering this number, why it is asking me to that? Please log in with OTP unavailable. What is the reason for that? Okay, so there must be some error handling, guys, which due to which it is throwing that error. Okay, now if I enter some mobile number, okay, this is valid mobile number, guys. Okay, copy this, Control V, request OTP. So now it is saying that please enter the OTP sent to this number. Okay, and that to be entered within, guys, how many this thing? So it will wait for, that's not a problem. You need to validate the timer as well, guys. Okay, so here, unless and until I don't enter, or let's say if I entered the OTP after 15 minutes or something, right? It may say that the page is expired. We revalidate, right? So that all scenarios, guys, you need to cover under this. Is it clear, guys? Anybody has any query on this? So all the buttons, all the error messages, all the text which is coming based on the action, all the hyperlinks, all the UI related part. So everything will be part of your test case, guys. Anybody got any doubt, any query, any questions? Yes. Before I move to the next topic, guys. Perfect. So test scenario is what to be tested, and test case is how to test. Okay. So here you can see that we are having few things such as button, when you're clicking or when you're entering without, just now I showed you, when you are entering nothing and clicking on login, right? When you are click the button only entering username. This is in a scenario where you have the username field as well as password field, guys. So this is at the high level. What is the test suite, guys? What is test suite? Test suite is nothing but a call. Like you have. Can anybody explain this, guys? What is test suite? Yes, anyone? Very simple, guys. This you might have come across on a daily basis. Whenever you are giving a new build, right? So what you do? Whenever I give any URL for testing, what you will do, guys? You will run some test cases, right? So what are those test cases?
Like it is a combination of test cases like we do in regression.
So what are those test cases? Those
Like
test
which
cases are nothing but your regression test cases, smoke test cases, sanity
yes.
test cases, normal test cases, correct? So usually we call that as a suit, guys. Okay, so whenever you might have heard from multiple people saying that, hey, have you ran the regression suit? Have you ran the smoke suit? Have you ran the sanity suit? Something like that, right? So test plan on a higher side, guys, is nothing but the collection of all the suits which is available for a particular project, guys. Perfect. So it may happen that the regression test cases, whatever it contains, it may be present in smoke as well. It may be present in sanity as well. Okay. So please remember, guys, whenever you are working on any, you can say once the deployment is done, the very first thing what they will say that, hey, we have done the deployment. The developer will say that we have done the deployment. You can start with your testing. So as soon as they say that, say this, guys, what we need to do, we need to trigger our regression suit first, sanity suit first, smoke suit first, right? So these are the major suit which we trigger as soon as there is any deployment on any of the environment, guys. It's not like only on stage, only on QA. No, it's for all the environment. Okay. And suit is what? Suit is nothing but the collection of similar, like same level of test cases. Okay. Now, what is test cases? Test case is a set of actions which is being obviously, you can say, done by the tester QA, and they will execute a particular functionality features, and you can consider like functionality of your software application. Okay, so whether those are working, validating correctly or not. A test case is a set of action which is executed to validate particular feature. Now I said you that I need to do the login test, right? So you will perform some step. What you will perform? You will load flipkart.com. After that, you will click on login. So for clicking login, you have two sections. One is the above one. Second is this login, which is kind of showing up. So you have two ways to go to login page. What is this? One is from this, one is from this. So you click on login. Once you go to this page, you will see that we are having some one text box for entering the mobile number. And after that, you click on request OTP. After that, please validate the error message. So all this, where it will go, guys? Whatever I said, right? This needs to be documented. Okay, this needs to be documented. So where it will go? It will go under test cases. Okay, so this becomes a negative scenario, guys. Okay, this becomes a negative scenario. And if I click over here, there is some check, guys, through which they are trying to validate whether the mobile number is valid or not. Okay, so there might be third-party API or something, right, which is part of your flipkart.com. You need to validate the URL as well, guys, where the URL is getting triggered. You need to check whether login word is coming or not. So all these are nothing but what? All these are the steps which we usually have into our test case, guys, in this. Okay, everyone can see this test case template, test case test step. Okay, all this will go under this particular column, guys. So what does a typical test case contain? A typical test case contains module name, requirement ID, type, priority, test case, scenario, precondition, template, test step, actual, expected, and result, whether it is pass, fail, or let's say not executed. Is it clear, everyone? Anybody has anything to add, or let's say wants to share your thoughts, guys? Please feel free to unmute and speak up, guys.
What's this priority P1, P3?
Okay, so every test case has got some priority, guys. So priority means like P1 means you can consider it usually starts with actually P0, P0, P1, P2, P3 something. So P0 means like you can consider as of highest priority. Okay, lower the number, highest is the priority. Okay, so you need to execute them like as soon as possible when you are referring to regression suit. So priority and severity is defined by QA itself. And for that, you will have the clarity or let's say better understanding on the application. Okay, if you have very good exposure and experience with what are the major function or what are the USP or what are the MVP, most valuable points or something, right? So based on that, you will provide the priority to the test cases. Severity is something like how urgently you need to you can say you need to execute those test cases. So that comes under severity. Am I clear? Anybody has any other doubt, any questions? So here we can have severity as well. Along with priority, we can have severity as well.
Just one thing, severity, is it for defects or also for testing?
Severity you can consider for both actually, the test case as well. And when we are raising the defect over there also, we have one field called as severity, wherein the value will be, you can say medium, high, critical, or highest. These are the 4 values for severity in the defect part. Okay. So this, whatever is there, right? The priority, severity in the test case section, that is optional, guys. It is not mandatory that every test case should have priority and severity. It is not mandatory. Please remember this, guys. Okay. So here the major thing is you need to have module name, requirement ID. Positive, negative also is not required. This is basically for the segregation. How many test cases are positive, how many are negative. So for that reason, this is given. Otherwise, you will have this test scenario name. Precondition is mandatory. And these 3 columns are very, very, very important, guys. Steps, actual and expected. And obviously the result. Result you can say status, basically. We call this as a status. Whether it is pass, fail, or not executed, something like that. Okay, clear everyone? Anybody has any doubt? Perfect. So next is RTM, guys, requirement traceability matrix. So whatever test cases you are creating, guys, that is actually mapped with some of the requirement, right? So the mapping between requirement and the test cases in an Excel is called as requirement traceability matrix. I am repeating, guys. The mapping between what? Requirement and the test cases is done under one document, and that document is called as requirement traceability matrix. Perfect. So what does RTM contains, guys? RTM contains requirement ID, description, test case ID. So here is how this is very, you can say this is not a valid one, but you can consider this at high level. Usually we generate very, you can say granular level, so that whoever is executing the test cases, they should be pretty much confident that how much test case he has executed, what are the test case he has executed, how many of them are pass, how many of them are fail. Okay. So all these details you will get it from the RTM part, guys. Anybody has any questions on RTM? So can anybody tell me who prepares the RTM, guys? Who prepares the RTM?
I think QA lead prepares it.
QA lead as well as senior QA. Okay. And please remember, guys, RTM is not mandatory. I'm repeating, RTM is not mandatory. It's an optional part. But the purpose of RTM is to perform the management. Like you can consider like how many test case you have written under each module. So for that purpose, they usually try to track the RTM. If I give you 10 requirements and those 10 requirements has, let's say, 600, 400 test cases. So what is the segregation between each one of them? So for that purpose, we actually refer the RTM. So you will get a clarity that this particular module is having 80 test cases. This particular module has 60 test cases. So those breakup, those logic, you usually get it through what? You usually get it from RTM. Clear everyone? Anybody has any doubt, query, questions, guys? And this RTM needs to be updated on a weekly basis, guys. As soon as you are executing, you need to update like how many test cases in this module has been passed, how many are failing. And for failing, did you raise the issue, Jira ticket or something, bugs? So that also details you need to mention over here. Okay, if your test case is getting failed, what is a Jira ID? What is a bug ID? So all these details goes under RTM, guys. Anybody has any questions, any query?
One thing I wanted to ask about the what if some test case gets blocked? So do we also raise defects for blocked test cases, or just we just block the test case?
We don't raise the defect for block test cases. We usually create one story, or let's say under which all the block related test cases will be kind of link usually. Okay. And block test cases are being discussed on a daily basis with the whenever we have our daily stand up or something, right? Because usually what happens in block test cases, either that module is, let's say, blocked due to some upgrade, or let's say there is new version which is going to come in, let's say, next 1 or 2 weeks. So those might be the reason. Okay. So those type of issues you usually kind of consider whenever we have the block related scenario. So for block test cases, you will not raise any defect or issue. Okay. But what happens, there are two scenarios. One is you raise the issue, correct? And that developer is saying that we are dependent on someone, and that particular functionality is not available. So what they do, they move the defect in block states. Okay, why? Because they are also like dependent on some third party something, and they are not having that values, or let's say they are not having those URL or something. So what they will do, they will migrate the defect in block state. Over here, when we talk about test cases, we usually you can consider never move our test case in block actually. Okay, we will either, let's say, move into no run because we are stuck due to some reason. So that reason, that explanation you need to give into your stand up. Okay, why you are not able to run this? What is the main reason? So for that, you might need to raise the defect, guys. Okay, why the third party application, or let's say any of this is not working? Clear, everyone? So you can consider, let's say there is one website called as SendGrid Guide. SendGrid is basically like a simple, you can say, email plugins, okay, which is available over this thing, okay. And this email, this is responsible for triggering email whenever you are doing login, whenever you are doing registration, everything. For every purpose, you have this SendGrid guide. Okay, so we usually call that SendGrid API documentation. So here is the name of the this thing is Twilio, guys. Okay, Twilio. So what this is doing is, like, whenever you register for any of the website or something, it will send an email. When you log in, it will send an email. When you forgot password, it will send an email. When you order anything, it will send an email. So for every purpose, you will have this SendGrid account. So both, guys, email as well as OTP, both are done with the help of the SendGrid APIs, guys. Now, if someone is saying that this Twilio account is like little bit, let's say it is getting updated, or it is blocked, or it is not working, so it means that you will not be able to test what? You will not be able to test OTP functionality, guys. So what you can say, developer will say, I'm blocked due to what? I'm blocked due to Twilio is not working. That's the reason. So in that case, you need to kind of raise an issue. Also, you need to raise a ticket to this particular account, why it is not working. And all this detail you need to mention where? Into your Jira ticket, guys. Clear, everyone? What is block? What is block test cases? What is block defect? Anybody has any doubt, query, questions? Because right now, guys, for any of the e-commerce or any of the applications, there are multiple third-party things which you need to make sure that those are working fine. If those are working fine, then your application will work fine. Right? Clear? Anybody has any doubt, guys, before moving ahead? Perfect. So let's move to next part, wherein the environment, which I talked already about what is environment, guys. I hope everyone are clear how we are managing the environment, what all things happens in the environment. And please make sure that you will be responsible for QA and stage environment. if at any point the QA environment is down or let's say something, right? The first person to hold is like usually the DevOps guys, because the DevOps guys is someone who is managing those environment, but he is not checking on a daily basis. Please remember guys, who is checking on a regular basis? QA team, correct? So you need to make sure that the environment are working fine and everything is like up to date. Next is execution. Like execution is basically you will say pass, fail, block, run, and others. Okay. So you are blocked due to some third-party dependency, or let's say the developer has not created that functionality or something. So all this will happen in what? It will happen in test execution, guys. Okay. And please remember, guys, we will raise defect for the failed test cases, and you will keep on tracking those defects, those issues, unless and until those defects are kind of closed, guys. It is verified and deployed on dev environment and it is, sorry, QA environment, and it has been closed, guys. Okay, so till that time, you will keep on checking what is the status. Text executions has some guidelines, guys, because what happens is test executions happens usually multiple times, multiple cycles. And as a QA, you are the one who are involved, guys. And if there is any automation which is kind of having, so over there you will trigger your automation script. And if the automation script itself is getting failed, for that also you will raise the defect or issue, guys. What is defect? Defect, we usually have few tools, guys, which are basically like defect management tools. So we have Basecamp, we have, these are all the project management tool. But for defect management, now 60 to 70% of the organizations are clearly relying on, or let's say dependent on, only one tool, that is Jira, guys. So we call it as Jira, we called it as Jira. Some folks may say that Jira, some may say that Jira. Okay, so don't get confused. It is an Atlassian tool, guys. Along with Jira, we use Bitbucket, we use Confluence. Okay, so these are the major tool which we usually kind of consider whenever we are talking about Atlassian tool, guys. Okay. So any mismatch functionality found in an application is usually called a defect, bug, issue. And what happens, guys? This is something during the test executions, the requirement is not matching or not actually same as what is present inside your this thing. Okay, so for that purpose, we usually raise the defect. So previously we used to work with Bugzilla. It is actually not not J, guys. It is actually Z. Okay, Zilla. Bugzilla, ClearQuest, DevTrack, Jira, Quality Center. These are the major tools which we usually work, guys. Next is defect report contains. So what does this defect contains usually? It contains some such as defect ID, defect descriptions. So guys, we don't need to mention anything. Automatically, as soon as you click on create button, right? All this field will kind of get populated, and our logic will be to enter the value in each one of them, guys. Okay, clear? Anybody has any doubt, any query, any questions till now? Perfect. So we have categorizations based on the severity and priority, which I already mentioned, that is severity and priority. Severity is like critical, major, minor, blocker, and priority is P0, P1, P2, P3. Some people may use P0 as well, guys. Now, defect severity is actually classified based on the whether it is a showstopper, whether it is critical, major, or minor. So usually you can say like 404 not found, blocker, or application is getting crash. So those type of issues comes under blocker. Critical means, let's say you are making a payment and their payment is not migrating to second party or something. So fund transfer is not working, ordering product in e-commerce is not working. So those are the critical issue. Major is like you have sent an email or you have ordered a product but you didn't got a confirmation. Correct? So those type of issue comes under major. Minor is like the look and feel, guys. Then we have the defect priority, guys. P0, P1, P2, P3. Okay. And then this is the classifications between high priority, high severity. So high priority, high severity login is taking to blank page. High severity, low priority about us is going to blank page. Low severity, high priority, you can say after user is logged in, but he can see only home screen. But the spelling of the home screen, home page is not correct. So all this is the classification, guys, between low priority, high severity, and all those things. Total 4 combinations. And these are the additional example for this low priority, low severity, low priority, high severity, and other example, guys. Okay. So this usually arises whenever we give any URL for validations. Let's say the code has been deployed on dev or QA, and after that you start the validations with that URL. You may face issue of application getting crash, all those guys. Okay, please remember. Okay, so anybody got any doubt, anything to ask, guys? Please feel free to unmute and speak up, guys. And the last one is defect resolution, guys. What is defect resolution? So once you have raised the issue, defect or anything, after that what happens? It usually goes under whether the issue is getting accepted, reject, duplicate, enhancement, need more info, not reproducible, fix as designed. So who is the one who is changing this status? The developer is the one who is actually changing this status. Because if the developer is saying that this is not as per the functionality or something, they may say that this is as per design practice or design, you can say flow. They may say that this is actually not a requirement. Okay, so all this will be a kind of other status whenever you raise any issue, guys. Okay. I think we are will stop here, guys. But anybody got anything to ask? So at just high level, I would like to kind of just go through this again. So we started with a test plan documentations. We spoke about the template overview. Then we spoke about use cases, scenarios, and test cases. What are the difference? What is this use case diagram? And based on the use case diagram, how many test case you can generate? What are the different test cases, positive, negative? Spoke about suit. We have something called as regression sanities. What is test case? What are the steps involved? And what are the parameters which are part of your test case? And what you are using for test case creation? Then we have requirement traceability matrix, wherein it is something like this. Okay, after that we have the environment. Okay, what is the environment? Basically on which you are executing your test case. After that you have some of the activities. Then we have the guidelines for test executions. What are the basic guidelines which is required for executing the test case? After that we spoke about defect. What are the let's say priority and severity, and how the combinations of high, low, high, medium we are giving it, and what are the different defect resolution status which we are having once the bug has been detected or identified. Clear, everyone? Anybody has any doubt, any query, any questions, guys, before we stop here, guys? Anybody wants to share anything?
We are going to start automation, huh?
We are going to start Java.
Okay.
Okay. So from tomorrow, we'll start with the Java coding, this thing activity. So the topics and everything already is listed over the website, guys. So you can go through and check once you have time, guys. Okay. So I think we are good.
I have a question here.
Yeah, Sabita, please go ahead.
So in interview, when the scenarios are asked, like given any scenario and asked like how many test cases can you derive from this, or how many test cases must be written. So how do we get the number? Like
So
how many test cases?
see, usually what happens in real time, you will, if you have the proper explorations with respect to whatever modules I am showing right now. Okay. So I told you that, hey, we are having this page, correct? So you need to have the estimation. It's not a perfect estimation, it's a ballpark estimation. So wherein you just give a high level numbers based on what positive scenario you can think, what negative scenario you can think, how many hyperlinks are there, if there are any additional options on this particular screen or not. If if there are those numbers which is ready with you, then only you will have the proper numbering, because here also we are not I'm saying 10, but usually it is not 10, it is more than 20 actually. Okay, on this page also I can have 20 test cases. You can more than 20 test cases, making sure that it is considering positive, negative and everything. Okay, and that test case is not like it will be fixed, let's say 20 I told, then 20 will be the correct count. The answer is it can be 27, 26 also. Okay, so you just need to have the exploration of any of the application. Okay, now over here I say that, hey, we have something called create your Amazon account. So when you click on create your Amazon account, you have 4 fields, 1 button, 2 hyperlink, sign in, create for business account. So here I can generate almost like 40 to 50 test cases on this page, guys.
So I should be taking like each individual element separately for the test cases.
Each individual separately is not required, because you will not write enter your first name and you will stop your test case. That's not a correct approach. We will have the entrance of all the, you can say, field at
Data.
yes, at one go, and the data can be negative. Okay, so here I'm entering, let's say, number or something. If it is accepting, then well and good. If it is not, then you need to check. All this comes under, you can say, test case context.
Sure. So and in the same manner, so for the links, for
Hyperlink.
example,
Yeah.
for the hyperlinks like conditions of use, privacy notice. So
For hyperlink, you can have single line. Validate condition of use is navigating to correct link. Validate privacy note is navigating to correct link. Validate condition of use. Validate again privacy note. Validate help. So these 5 test cases you can segregate or you can separate it. Okay.
sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think there was one more question, guys. Or we are good? Okay. I think we are good, guys. So I would request everyone to please get in touch with Kumar sir regarding the next step, guys. If anybody got any queries, any doubt, please feel free to drop your notes, guys. Drop your query over WhatsApp as well. I'll be answering those as well, guys. Okay, most probably from tomorrow onwards, we'll start with the Java topics. Okay.